Hello, everybody. Nate Leslie here. I am back again today with Tony Lindsay, the head coach of the Fraser Valley Rush, U18 AAA on the female side. He is also an audit partner at KPMG. He is what I've always admired about Tony is he gives a lot of his time to coaching the sport that he loves, yet having no kids playing at that level and a busy professional schedule. So Tony, welcome, and thanks for sharing some time with the Prep Camp families.
Thanks, Nate, and thanks for having me.
All right, so we'll just jump right in here. We're going to explore what you and the team has gone through in this pandemic, and we mentioned just off camera that it's been a unique challenge as you are really cognizant and aware of the different challenges that the different ages of the girls on the team are facing. What can you tell us about what you've been going through?
Yeah, it's certainly, like for all of us, it's been very, very unique. So with our at the U18 AAA level, we have players that are in grade 10, 11, and 12. Our team this year is an older team, so we have a lot of players in the grade 12 year. In a typical year, those players would be very focused on, competing for a provincial championship. Our goal was to advance to the SO Cup. As well, they are also looking at where they're going to be playing hockey next year. And we have some players who have commitments already, so they're looking at their continual development to be ready to play at those schools a year from now. We have a number of other players who are still looking to get commitments at schools. So with all of the uncertainty with the players in grade 12, there's been a lot of additional anxiety and stress over and above what you would see in a typical year, because the reality is none of us really like uncertainty, and there's a lot of uncertainty here, and there's uncertainty combined with, hey, this is my last year. Are we going to get to play games? Are we going to go to tournaments? How will university coaches know about me? As well as how do we keep the players motivated? So there's been in the grade 10s and grade 11s have similar issues, although they have the potential or they'll have another year or two, depending upon their age. But they also are anxious about not being able to see friends, spend time with friends. The social aspect of the game, which is so important to girls, has been reduced. Even when we're together, we're in two different dressing rooms, which is important for safety. We even had a period of time this year where when the health authority rules in the Lower Mainland came down for a 2-week period where you couldn't cross health authorities. Well, we've got 8 girls that live on the Vancouver Health Authority side and 12 that live on the Fraser Valley Health Authority side. So we even had a 2-week period where our team was split into 2 groups. So it causes lots of anxiety and stress that we've had to kind of work through.
Yeah, I love conversations with coaches that have nothing to do with hockey. I haven't even mentioned the hockey. It's been about the human side of things. And how have you have children? How has your role as father been useful in this challenging time for your teenage players?
Yeah, well, my daughter's 21, so I mean I've have some experience with working through a number of these things with a teenage daughter. The mental health focus has always been very important for me, for myself and my players, even in a typical environment, Nate. I think the levels of stress and anxiety that our youth today face because of technology and a whole bunch of other things that are much different than when we were kids growing up, causes a higher level of risk of anxiety and stress with the youth, and hockey's no different. And then you layer on top of that the regular kinds of stresses and pressures that the players sometimes feel. So that's always been top of mind, and in this environment even more so. And so we've been doing a number of different things. We have a mental health professional that has done 3 different Zoom calls with our group to make sure that they were feeling that they have tools let me rephrase that. Probably two things. One is for the players to understand the things that they're likely or possibly going to be feeling and going through. And then number two, trying to give them the tools to be able to deal with and manage those things. And we use a couple of simple phrases. And one is, hey, if you need help, put your hand up. Like if you are feeling like you need to talk to somebody, talk to somebody. If you're wondering whether you should talk to somebody, talk to somebody. So we've really tried to create an environment where the players feel they have an ability to talk to people and they need to talk to people. Our mental health professional has been really good on the calls that we've done. We've tried to do a number of things to keep the girls connected, because you don't have the road trip. You don't have the, hey, we're going to be on a bus for 12 hours, go to Prince George, which may not sound great, but the girls love it. And we don't get to do those things. So we've done things like, as an example, we did a bottle drive the last 3 weeks organized by the players, where they were responsible for going out and collecting bottles in a safe and social distance environment, bringing them to practices. And one of the players volunteered to collect these bottles, and we set a target of raising $750, and the girls raised over $1,000, and we're contributing that to the food bank. So again, just things like that to give the players a sense of, hey, this is a challenge for everybody, and we can help out, and we can do something to help out. And I think that's, in talking to the girls, it's made them feel good about the fact that they're helping others. So I think that's been an important part of what we've been doing as well, is just trying to keep everybody understanding we're all going through this. We're going through this together. We're here for each other. And you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have days where you don't feel as good as other days, and that's okay. But just as long as that we're aware of things that we can do together to help us all feel better.
Yeah. Well done. It's so important, and I can tell you care deeply about that, and I know that will translate to the players. You started talking about the challenges that this has created with separating the players. You think of a moment where it's actually brought them together because they are in this together, and they have to be probably more honest and vulnerable than maybe our sport culture might allow in a normal year.
Yeah, it's a great question. Because the reality is that because we can come together at the arena, we can, and we're on the ice 5 days a week. So the girls they do see each other on a fairly regular basis, but often that's one of the few outlets that they have outside of school. They don't have an opportunity to socialize with their friends outside of hockey because of the restrictions. So we have found, and we do something called an inner circle, which is where we just sit with the players, spaced out, and we just chat about how we're feeling, and we'll do that about every 2 weeks. And in that environment, the players have commented a number of times how important the team is. We always talk about a hockey family. It really has become a hockey family, and the players are spending, outside of their own family, they spend the majority of their time with our team. So it has brought us closer together. I really do believe that, and that's what I hear from the players, because they're able to spend time with the players in their team, and they're not able to spend time with a lot of other people outside of our team. So it has created a really close bond. And when you're going through a period of additional stress and anxiety, when you have that support network around you, it pulls you closer together with that support group. And not to make it sound like a support group, but it is a group that's supporting each other. And there's no question in my mind that it's brought the group very close together.
Mm-hmm. What has impressed you about teenage female athletes through all this?
Very, very resilient, very adaptable, and they're very empathetic. Like, they're very conscious of how each other is feeling. They can recognize often when their teammate is feeling down, and they look to pick them up. And it's and one of the things that one of the excuse me, one of the key behaviors that we've asked the players to focus on every time we're together, and even when we're not together, is what can you do to help your teammate be better? And one of those things is when you realize that your teammate's having a down day, is that what can you do to help them feel better about themselves, and just feel better about being there. And one thing that we've seen, which has been interesting, is that we're on the ice 5 times a week. We have some days where it's a double practice. We have sometimes we're fortunate to get some optional ice early in the morning on a weekend. Yet we're not playing any games. And so you wonder about attendance, and is that going to start to wane a bit? And it's been the opposite. Like, our attendance has probably been at 99%. The players come to everything. It's so that's been very, very impressive to me, because I wondered if it might go the other direction, where you're like, well, what am I practicing so hard for? Like, we haven't played a game in 2 months, and it might be another month or two before we play again. I mean, I just don't feel like today it's easy to say, I'm not going to come today. I've got to do something else. And that hasn't happened. And so I've been like, Nate, if you would have asked me back in May when we got back on the ice and said that we were going to spend 6 months of practicing and get to play 6 games in that 6 months, and for a large chunk of those practices, we'd be in phase 2, which means we can't do any competitive drills, any physical drills, and that was going to keep everybody still motivated and excited to come to hockey, I would say that's going to be a huge challenge as a coach. I mean, we used to complain about, geez, I got no game for 2 weeks. How are we going to keep everybody interested for 2 weeks? And now it's been 6 months of this, and I've been really impressed with their resilience and focus and care about each other. A lot of those attributes that we talk about, life skills and things we want to teach the players, they've had to live it here. They've had to live it because we don't have the opportunity to focus on games.
Yeah. The I said all summer at prep camp, the cliches of what sport can do for you, they're all really true right now. It's
No question.
no lip service, right? I've been openly critical in sport development over the years that Canada is so game focused, and say what you want about a 2-to-1, 3-to-1 practice to game ratio. Minor hockey, it ends up 1-to-1 if you're lucky, and a European model of training. And what you just said there, I'm wondering if it's the story the parents and us adults have been telling ourselves about whether or not you can keep kids engaged if you're focusing on practicing instead of games.
Yeah.
And you're telling me now that in this really challenging time, the girls and you together have managed to keep that engagement high. And yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I was going to say, so one of the things that we started talking about with the players and the parents, quite frankly, is we had a number of Zoom meetings with the parents as well, because they're also feeling the stress of the environment. And we said, there's a positive to what we're experiencing. It's not a positive experience, but there's a positive what we're experiencing. We're getting a opportunity that the players have never had. And that's extensive in-season skill development. There's never been that opportunity before.
No.
And let's take advantage of that. Let's not look at this as, oh, woe is me, we don't get to play games.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very unique, likely to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity here where you get significant in-season skill development. Now, we've done a number of things to try to keep that an interesting environment, and an environment that continues to motivate the players. So as an example, we have a skill provider that we have a double session on Sundays. A skill provider does that, and one nice session is for D only, and it's all D stuff. The next session is for forwards, and it's only forward stuff. Then during the week, we have some practices that are designed more for flow drills, other practices that are more on skating or different. We kind of break it up, we chunk it up. We have different voices for the players, so they're not simply listening to my voice day in, day out. I mean, it's good to hear a different voice and to pick up different things from different people. When we're in phase 3, we have an internal competition. We call it the competitive inferno. The players are divided into 2 groups. And in that ice session, we do a number of small area games. Another thing where the teams get a point if they win the small area game. And after the practice, each player also gets an individual rating for their individual level of compete. We do it in rounds of a 2-week period. And we track them. And that night I send out the scores. And it's interesting, Nate, when I first brought this up, that we were going to do this, the players were like, okay, sounds good, but do we have to get a rating? And then I said, well, I think it's important. And within 2 weeks of doing it, the girls are like, this is good. This is really
Nice.
good. And so the interesting thing is that if you ask the players, they will tell you that those infernal practices are more competitive than any practice they've ever experienced
Yeah.
in minor hockey. And that's an environment where we don't have games. So it's really they thrive in an environment where you can create competition even when you're just practicing.
100%. And that is a message we've been trying to share with youth coaches for 15 years. The value that they get in that practice, which you can and should continue to do, even if this thing ends
Oh,
and you go
absolutely.
back to normal, that should be part of, and I have a feeling is going to be part of your paradigm as a coach moving forward. But the value of that, adding competition and controlled chaos and accountability, it should be there anyways, right? And that
Absolutely.
yeah, you just described like the ideal season plan, and then throw in some games in a regular year, but everything from D practice only and forward practice only to mixing it up to throwing new stuff at them, adding competition to games. That's what coaching is all about, and you're getting to live that right now.
Oh, it's it's required all of us as coaches to open up the toolbox and pull out all the tools that we have and to
Mhm,
find some new tools on how to motivate players and also to keep them developing.
mhm,
And we use a slogan, win the day. That's our overall slogan, win the day. And it's not about winning. It's just about marginal gains. It's about every
mhm,
day doing something to get a little bit better. So every day we talk about, did you win the day?
mhm,
What did you do today to win the day? And so that we're not thinking about the next 3 or 4 months, we're just thinking about tomorrow. What
mhm,
are you going to do tomorrow? And this is in your control, whether it's figuring out what you can do to get better rest, eat better, exercise better, mental prep, skating, whatever that might look like. Every single day, our players are accountable and responsible for identifying something that makes them better that day.
that reminds me of one of my favorite books, The Compound Effect, from Darren Hardy, and it's a parable of two friends from high school, and every day one makes tiny, really positive decisions, and
Right,
the other one makes tiny, less healthy decisions. And 20 years later, they're just at a completely different stage in life, even though the decisions they're making are so subtly different. And
right.
that's that.
Oh, that's great. Great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tony, I think we're going to wrap it up there. This has been really insightful for me, and I know for the parents and players watching. And I just want to congratulate you for everything you've done with the team, and for a guy who's got a busy professional life, making time for these young women. It's just remarkable, and the impact you're having is huge. And to everyone on your coaching staff and your parents and players that have bought in, it sounds like a model example of what we can do in this challenging time.
No, I appreciate that. And there is a lot of coaches that are working with me. So this is definitely a team effort. And I feel privileged to be able to try to contribute in some way and to try to help out in some small way. So, but it's a team effort. And thanks for the kind words. I appreciate that.